What is up, everyone? Gym Guys Podcast, episode 29. Super special guest that I was honored to meet recently at an event that we were involved with. And before we introduce our guest, we'll get into the co hosts first, to my left or right, depending on how you're watching us. Eric Schwartz, CEO of Paw Power Nutrition, maker of fine dog supplements, health supplements, including dog butter. Great way to give your dog some medications and healthy peanut butter, not all the crap that we typically find in other peanut butters. Check out his omegas, check out his immune support. Awesome stuff. Donates to saving dogs, rescuing dogs as well. So, a great cause, a great company, a great person that I've come to know and love for years. Formerly at Animal Pack, formerly at NutriBio, formerly at GAT. So, tons of experience in the sports nutrition world. Um, Below Eric is Scott Applebaum, involved with integrated wellness, anti aging, uh, biohacking, which you're going to hear more from our guest as well. Recently became IFBB Pro in July of 23 at the age of 60 years old, won 4 pro cards that night at the Team Universe. So you're talking to some very special people on this podcast with a wealth of knowledge and that are very grounded, very down to earth. Myself, Kris Gethin, Drago 1850, ambassador to Animal for years and years, been selling it since the 80s when I worked the GNCs, and just a huge fan of the bodybuilding and fitness world, which leads us to our guest. This person I met recently at an event, and I've followed him for decades. Everyone knows him by his awesome accent, by his awesome look, his knowledge, and just really is just a go-getter. When I start calling off some of the things that this gentleman has done, you're going to be like, where does he have 29 hours in a day, 36 hours a day? How's he do it in 24? So we're talking about the previous senior editor of bodybuilding.com, which is what I think most of us know him from, editor at large for, I believe, Weeder Publications, um, former owner of Caged Muscle, and then I think believe editor of Caged Muscle magazine, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. What Co-owner of the Kris Gethin franchise and gyms. Um, the number one transformational coach, physique coach out there, training celebrities, all sorts of athletes. We'll tell you about how you can find more about him if you're interested in his services. Most recently, and what you see behind me, the co-owner, co-founder of Unmatched with, I believe, Doug Miller. So, I mean, just accolade after accolade, coached by Neil Yoda. Um, Again, just I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Better Bodies and Gas athlete as well. So before I take up the entire podcast with all these introductions, make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, Kris Gethin. Kris, so happy to have you on our podcast. It's an honor. And again, thanks for just being so approachable when I met you, and how welcoming you were to come on our show. I know you have your own podcast, Kris Gethin podcast as well. And the last thing I'll say before I open up to Kris is he knows how to spell his name right, Kris.
Thank you very much. That was quite the introduction, mate. I wish I had that introduction every time I went into the bedroom with my wife waiting there. It's like, this is what you're gonna get, man. I like
This
that. There's a lot of, mind you, there's a lot of bloody pressure then that you have to live up to.
Well, we're happy to have you today. Thank you again for joining us. And like I said, really the stage is yours to talk about. We got some questions that we want to ask, but it's really kind of just like, hey, how did you get started? What's driving you every day? All these businesses, all these things that you handle. Definitely want to talk about some of your new products. I know you're going to be at the Olympia next week, if I'm not mistaken, booth 532. So make sure you go see Kris at the Las Vegas Convention Center at the Olympia, which is I think October 10th to the 13th, and just tons of exciting things going on, and just really the best thing, the wealth of knowledge that you can get from someone like Kris Gethin.
Yeah, man. Well, I get a lot done, I guess, because, Scott seems to be into his biohacks. You can't get it all done, so you have to stack them. So, while I'm talking to you now, I'm on a treadmill. I try to multitask whenever possible. If I'm in the sauna, I'm usually reading or meditating or stretching. If I'm in the ice bath, maybe I've got a red light on my shoulder. I have to stack these things just to get stuff done. But I like being busy. Um, the one thing that I usually think about or say is I don't like to think too much because it makes me think too much. I like the distraction. The distraction is good. I don't like quietness. And it's I don't know what it is that drives me. I guess it's because I'm doing something that I enjoy. I hated school, couldn't stand it. I was very frustrated. I couldn't retain content, so I felt stupid. But it wasn't until later when I started studying, like nutrition and training, that I realized, hold on, I'm retaining this content. Maybe I'm not stupid after all. It's something I enjoy. I like learning about this as opposed to religious education or history or anything like that. I don't mind some of it, history a little bit as I'm a bit older. Art gets lost on me, that's for sure. But I think, finding something that drives you and gives you a passion. And, when we grew up, looking at the bodybuilding magazines, we didn't have the opportunity to engage with the people that were in those magazines. We'd see an ad, maybe like, what you've got behind you, and you'd see a big bodybuilder, it could be like a Cybergenics ad or whatever. And you think, wow, if I get that Cybergenics kit or stack with this free VHS video, maybe I'll watch that, take the supplements, and I'll look like that guy in the ads because you couldn't engage or interact or learn other than what you were being told. Because in my social circle, there was nobody I could ask. I grew up on a farm in very rural Wales. So I was definitely an outlier. But now I think because I feel that I can provide some value to people, I feel like I'm talking to that kid that grew up on the farm. And that makes me feel very lucky and humbled to have that purpose. I don't have kids. Some people have kids, and that drives them, that gives them a purpose. I don't feel like having kids. I feel like when I'm looking after my clients, I'm looking after all of them. It's that's enough for me. But like I got into this initially through I went to biohack through the sickness. So it's always kind of some sort of incidental thing that happened that causes me, I sidestep into something. So when I was growing up on a farm from the age of 6 to about 20 years old, I raced motocross. And during that time, I just had so many. I've got, a few of those injuries that resurface themselves now, namely my back. I've got a severe curvature of my spine from, at a developing age. I didn't have the smoothest of styles on a motocross bike, and 70% of the corners, weirdly enough, are right-hand corners. And then over time, that's like shifted my spine. So my spine is like left aligned in my pelvis by about 2 inches. Working out doesn't cause it any issues. It, actually helps me as long as I don't squat too heavy or anything like that. It's like the long haul flights. That's what gets me more than anything. So, the workouts are therapy. So when I stopped racing motocross, I raced downhill mountain biking for a little while. That didn't really feed me as much as I wanted. I was just hooked on adrenaline at this time because that had become my identity. So when I didn't have that adrenaline, I felt like I'd lost that identity. So I just went and did drugs for a few years and drank a shitload of alcohol and just partied and did real stupid stuff. How I'm here, I don't know. And when I got arrested for drugs, and they got the house at like 4 o'clock in the morning with me handcuffed because that was still my residential address, even though I've moved out. Just seeing that look of disappointment on my father's face, I was like, "Jeez, I gotta do something about my life." And I've gone to osteopaths, chiropractors, everything for my back, and started doing physiotherapy. I was alleviated of that pain that I was dealing with physically.
Yep, there he is.
Are you still there?
Yeah, you faded out, now you came back in clear. Yeah.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah,
Yes.
we got you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. It's never happened before. But anyway, so I started doing physiotherapy, and that alleviated me of the pain that I was feeling. And that's when I thought, hold on, there might be something more to this. So I started looking into the nutritional aspect and more aspects of weight training and physiotherapy and resistance training that could alleviate me of this pain. And that's when I realized, hold on, I'm actually starting to enjoy this. So I can retain this content where I wasn't able to retain the content in school because I hated it. And so that's when I decided, this can help me turn my life around. I'm going to go to college. And I went to college for 3 years to study international health and sports therapy. This is in like the mid-90s. And during this time, I really started to take the weight training a little bit more seriously. And because I needed goals, I'd always been kind of goal orientated, and I'd lost those goals for a few years. And I needed a sense of urgency. Weight training became very therapeutic to me. That was feeding the adrenaline that I wasn't getting, because I'd stopped, extreme sports. But so my workouts are pretty bloody extreme. The more that I pushed myself in the gym with just, stupid stuff like giant sets, supersets, drop sets, every set, the better that I felt following for the next 23 hours, So with that, I looked up, found a bodybuilding show in South Wales, near this place called Barry. And I thought, okay, I'll do that. And it was only a year away, and I didn't really have any muscle on my body, far from it. But I had that virtue in me, so I had to keep me straight and narrow, to keep me away from the drugs and the alcohol. Even though I did drink here and there, I wasn't completely clean. And I had no idea there was such a thing as drug-free bodybuilding shows and enhanced shows. So I just went into this enhanced show. And I wasn't, I was definitely the smallest there. There's no doubt about it. But I was lean. I think I went 9 weeks with no carbs because I didn't know any different. So I went zero carbs for 9 weeks. And, I was hallucinating, man. Like I remember I'd drive past the turning to my house on the way home. I'd put the coffee in the fridge, the coffee granules and whatever in the coffee. I remember being at an ATM once, getting money out of the ATM and actually thanking the ATM. I was out of it, totally out of it. But I got second in that show. I was the smallest, but I got ripped. And then after that, I went and worked on cruise liners for a while because I had my qualifications to be a personal trainer. And I knew that I needed to get out of the social environment that I was stuck in Wales because it was too tempting to still do drugs and still party. And so I got allocated to the Caribbean, the Bahamas, etc., going out of Miami and Fort Lauderdale. But that turned out to be a bigger party on there than I'd left at home. It was tax-free, everything goes on your room card, and it was too much. Everything was too cheap, and everyone was doing the same thing. I was very easily influenced. And I'd met this girl on that cruise liner that was Australian. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just go to Australia and I'll just visit her. And within a couple of days, literally within 48 hours, I got myself a job just working on a gym floor in this gym in Australia. And I actually went to a bodybuilding show in Australia, in Sydney, Australia, and it was a natural show. So I just went and watched this. And there's a guy called Mark Costanti that was guest posing on stage. He was Mr. Australia at the time. And I was like, there's no way that guy is natural. No way, he can't be. Like, he was shredded. He was guest posing, but he was shredded. Veins all over his abs, huge feathered quads. Like, the guy's lats were insane. He was just a monster. And that doubt was quickly put to rest when I started training with him. I became his training partner. And I realized, wow, there's levels to this shit. This guy had a much higher ceiling above his head than I had. Mine had become quite low because I didn't know what limitations were. And he had blown up the roof off his limitations, And he had a physique that everybody thought was enhanced, you know, and I could see why. The guy was just, he lived it 24/7. And so that's when I thought, okay, I'm going to pick this up and start doing these natural shows. So I started doing that. This is going back in 2000, yeah, year 2000 now, and started competing in shows. And I think then, yeah, while I was working in this gym, I started doing mobile personal training. So I was training people on the beaches in Australia, in their home, and like in their local gyms. And for my cardio in the morning, this is where I go to stacking these biohacks or multitasking. I thought, okay, I'll do my walk outside, but I'll make these tri-fold leaflets to advertise my personal training. But it won't be necessarily personal training where you can buy like a 5-pack, 10-pack. It'll just be transformations, because Bill Phillips was big back then, you know, Body for Life. So I thought, yeah, people like that sense of urgency. That's what they want. They want to see a before and after picture, and that's what will sell them. So I was selling these packages, 12-week and 18-week. You know, if that person was really overweight, I'd put them to 18 weeks. So I started getting more work, and I started saving all that money up. And 2 years later, I was able to purchase my first gym, because that's what I thought, this is my dream. I really want to get into the gym business. So that gym, because I'm really into MMA, I love MMA. You know, back then it was cage fighting. So half the gym was MMA, and the other half of the gym was just personal training. It's just a personal training studio, you know. So that's what I was doing. I was doing both worlds. You know, I really got into Muay Thai. I started teaching Muay Thai at that time. So I was doing a bit of both. And I quickly realized, you know, just from reading all the bodybuilding magazines, you know, when I was back in Wales, I'd go and hound the news agents like 2 weeks before the magazine had come in to say, is it in yet? Has it come yet? You know, I'd piss them off. And I used to read that thing front to back. And that's where I thought, you know, if I can reach more people, then I'll be able to make more change. I'll be able to get more business. I had no idea how to write. You know, I failed at school. So I purchased Merriam-Webster's book on journalistic writing and told myself to start reading content. I started to publish, you know, the magazines now. I don't know if that was to do with me or what, but you know, like Planet Muscle. What was Bev? Oh God, what's that magazine called? You know, Beverly Nutrition. You know, he had a magazine as
Yes,
well.
yes. They always had like a quarterly magazine. Yeah, I forgot the name of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I was publishing there. I was publishing in a lot of European magazines, and I thought, wow, I really enjoy this. You know, I tried to take on a little bit from, you know, like Peter McGough. He'd make some of his pieces very humorous, and I thought, yeah, bodybuilding can be boring. Let me try to put, you know, some dry humor in here as well to try to get it to stick. And I really enjoyed that, coming up with something that was kind of witty in there as well. And it started getting published more and more. And then I started working for Reader Publications in Australia. And my best friend to this day now was the editor and chief of Susie Arnold and the Olympia and whatnot, and started doing that in 2000. And so at that stage, then I just decided, you know what? I'm going to see if I can just do this full time. So I sold the gym and I flew to Venice, California, moved to Venice, California, was in Golds every day and doing a bit of personal training in there and submitting content to Woodland Hills to Peter McGough. And I was just basically being a pain in the ass because, of course, I'd see him at the Olympia, me being from the UK, you know, we kind of hit it off a little bit. Got to know other guys, you know, Sean Perrine, rest in peace, Greg Merritt, all these guys. And then later, you know, Jim Sapani. And 6 months later, I got a contract there to work with them full time. So I worked with them full time for a little while. And at this stage, I'm competing in bodybuilding still. I got to represent Australia in the Natural World Championships. This was in 2006. Managed to get second there. whilst working for Weeder Publications, doing everything that I bloody loved, really. Absolutely everything. Lived with Flex Lewis for a while when he first moved over as well. This is 2005. We lived together for a short while in LA. That was a lot of fun.
Did you guys
And
know each other from back in Wales or no? Sorry, Chris froze up.
That's all right.
He froze.
Sorry.
no,
Sorry, Chris.
did as managed him doing frozen. Am I frozen now or
Now
not?
you're unfrozen.
Okay. How long did I freeze for?
Maybe about 10 seconds or so. You just started to talk about you were with Flex Lewis, lived in LA, and Eric had asked you, did you know him from when you were in Wales also?
Yeah, I knew Flex from being in Wales a little bit. So I managed to get him a workout with Dorian because I knew Dorian.
Nice.
And I wanted to do a feature. So, I said, let's, get up to Temple. I'll get our Dorian and see if he'll put you through a workout, which he did. And that became like a cover story for Flex magazine. But they didn't put Flex on the cover because he wasn't that known. He wasn't pro yet. They put Dorian on the cover but had the feature inside with the pictures with this young up and comer. So we'd known each other from there. Neil Hill was with us as well, because I think I got introduced to Neil then at that time from Flex. So we knew each other, and that was way before Neil had moved over here. And yeah, so that's what I was doing for a little while. And then after a few years with Flex magazine, I just wasn't liking the way how some of my content was edited, because I don't mind putting it pretty hardcore. I like it black and white, real hardcore. Into much more that Dorian black and white style. Wasn't into the fake stuff, the sunglasses and fake spray and whatnot. And I was shooting pictures as well and submitting pictures to accompany a lot of my content because it's an easier sell. And so then I decided to start my own publication, stupidly, called Caged Muscle, because, like I said, I like cage fighting and I like bodybuilding, so I put it together. And the magazine was good. I enjoyed it. I had people like Dorian, Bill Brandt, Lenda Murray, whatever, writing columns for me. It was really, really cool. But I just wasn't into marketing, man. I just didn't know how to sell. And basically, my content that I was freelancing out there was supporting that magazine. And I did it for 2 years. And, luckily enough, I got the job with bodybuilding.com. So that took me out of LA and brought me up to here to where I am in Boise now.
Beautiful. It's actually a very beautiful place. I went there a bunch of times when I worked for Animal, visiting bodybuilding.com, and Boise is beautiful.
Man, I love it. It's always a conversation stopper on the planes when people say, so where do you live? Boise. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing out there? But whenever I ask the people if they visited there, they always say no. So I'm like, oh, we'll keep it that way,
It's not easy to get to. From New York,
No.
it's like you can't, there's no direct flights. It's not easy to get there.
Yeah, like I was in New York. Well, I was in Miami yesterday. It's faster for me to fly from, say, New York or Miami to London than it is for me to fly to Boise.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It is a pain in the ass. But I don't mind that kind of sacrifice because I love the four seasons. I love snowboarding. I love mountain biking, love camping. It's a cheaper way of living. I love it.
Yeah, I think what else is there too? Is Jim Reapers based in Boise in Idaho?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. They're here, yeah.
And my friend who used to work for Amazon, he just moved from LA, the Redlands, to Boise. He loves it.
And he's working with Jim Reapers?
He's not. No, that's
Okay, someone else.
Yeah, meeting Rock Pilon at at some of the expos. Obviously, learned more about his business. So yeah, it definitely seems like a great place to live.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. I love it. It's always ending up in the top 10 places to bring up a family, top 10 places to retire and all that sort of stuff. I really like it. It's a hermit, so it's perfect for me.
Yeah, especially with all the extra activities you do. I mean, here we are talking about MMA and bodybuilding, and as people read and learn more about you, I mean, there's ultra marathons, there's Spartan races. I mean, like you said, MMA. I mean, it's like that's why I think that that state, that city that you live in, is just perfect for you. You get to do all these other activities that you know and love.
Kris, you've done an ultra marathon?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
100 miles.
that's yeah. Well, I've got 100 miles of trails right from my doorstep here, so I don't have to run on the tarmac. Like one people line man, I supplement because the ants have one in Boise for 10 years. Um, I was just like that. I always do the running for a business. Some of my actually when I hard that
Kris, you're coming a little bit choppy.
is more ins and buts.
Sorry, you broke
It's
up a
broken
little
up
bit, Chris.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once you started talking about the ultra marathon, it became like alfalfa in the train when he was like saying his speech and no one could hear him.
Okay.
I've never really had a problem with my internet connection, but I am going to move into the living room to see if it's better. Because sorry for that, guys. It's
No, that's okay. We
a
don't
pain in the ass.
we didn't want to miss it. We didn't want any audience to miss it. I mean, to just say that you did an ultra marathon's pretty nuts to begin with.
Yeah, but you know, the one thing that I was saying about the ultra marathon that's good is that it's all off road, so it's easier on your knees. But the hardest part is that there's so many more inclines and declines. So when you're running uphill, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait for a downhill. And then when you're running downhill for ages, you're like, oh, I can't wait for an uphill. So that's the hardest part. But it's just much more forgiving on my knees. So that's why I don't mind doing it. And you know, you gain a lot of friendships through suffering. So I kind of like that, where you plug yourself into a new social community. Because, like I said, I'm a bit of a hermit. I don't get out much really and spend time with friends. My family's in Wales, so that's you know, and we know longevity is connected to contact, to communication, to human
Yes.
contact. So I'm
Social
like,
interaction.
okay,
Yes.
social
Social
interaction,
interaction.
and
Yes.
that's part of my biohacking lifestyle I'm not very good at. So I'm like, well, that can kind of force me into it, you know. So that's how I see it as well. And the thing is, the one thing that I like about, for instance, triathlon is that you're not burning yourself out on one thing. Your cardio engine really transfers to swimming, from running to the cycling. So you don't have to do too much of it. And I like to do intensity work as opposed to long and slow. The only time I'll do long and slow is maybe on a Sunday on the bike, just because you have to get used to being in that bloody awkward saddle, you know, and that's about it really. But I love it, you know, and and when I kind of lost my way because I don't have motocross anymore is because my identity was associated with that one thing. So I'm very careful now not to be associated with that one thing. You know, like I've had so many injuries over the years, usually outside of the gym from some sort of extreme sport, you know, snowboarding, surfing, mountain biking, whatever. So I know if I lose myself on one thing, then I can likely transition into another. You know, when I was doing one of my Ironmans, I did it with a torn labrum and rotator cuff, and it really helped with rehabbing it, to be honest with you. You know, the swimming really helped, but you know, I couldn't really do much in the way of heavy lifting. So I thought, okay, well, this will be perfect until I can get the surgery or stem cells. So that's what I really like about it as well, as being versatile. And as you get a little bit older, you know, I just turned 50. I'm like, okay, I can do these things as I get older. That's fine. But if I do that one thing, maybe I'll wear myself out.
Yeah.
I can't fathom running 100 miles. It's wild.
It's a
Do you
mental
know
game.
what? Like
You know, I would say, Kris, what you say, biggest part of it is a mental game.
it is, but the thing is, I take advantage of, you know, what I was told in school. And a friend of mine does the same sort of thing actually. Is that I always used to daydream on all of my school reports. Is like Kris is daydreaming. You know, he's a daydreamer. But that was seen as being something very negative back then. Now I'm like, okay, well that's a positive because I can swim in that pool and look at that line for hours and I'll be fine. You know, because I'll just daydream. So that's become like a strength where it was once a weakness.
Great perspective.
And I think, and all this, it's just like weight training is therapeutic. You just need to have a transference effect where that is therapeutic. A lot of people like, I've done 10-day Vipassanas where you just sat in silence from 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock in the evening. I've done that. But for me, I love the active meditation. That works really, really well for me. And that's what all this is.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to find their own, their own way to Everest, I guess, and that really scratches my itch. Makes me feel good. I've always been one of these people, I guess, one of these weird people that just loves cardio. A lot of people say, God, cardio is so boring.
I hate it.
You know what? Yeah, you hate it.
I hate it.
Well, the one thing that I do say to people, well, you're probably supposed to do shit that you hate, because like. Look at I was talking to someone earlier about like obese people. They don't probably like eating clean. They don't like to move. They don't like cardio, but that's why they're obese. So you just have to do things that you don't want to do to get the results that you want, innit? Or get the results that other people can't. Yeah, exactly. You just got to do it. And that's where it's the cliche that everyone's saying now, well, it's a motivation that fails you, it's a discipline that kicks in, but it's so true. You become robotic to the fact. It's like, well, I can't be asked to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway, because discipline, like every morning I jump in my ice bath. Do you think I want to get in there? Do I? Hell, I don't want to get in there, but I do it, because I know how I'll feel after. It's that sacrifice to gain that success, and it's the best bloody pre-workout to me anyway, that's for sure.
Cause and effect and learning.
Well, it's also the forward thinking. You think about how you'll feel afterwards. So going through it is the rewards at the end of the rainbow,
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of these cats, like online on Instagram now, they just see the success of others and they want that instant gratification without making that sacrifice. But it's the sacrifice that's going to get you that success at the end of the day. It's that constant application and understanding that you have to do shit on days that you don't want to do it.
Well, as humans, innately we avoid pain and seek pleasure. So it's hard for most humans to go towards the pain because they immediately just want to seek pleasure.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
It's funny when I work with people. And I'll say to them, I go, look, you're coming to me as I go, let me tell you the story about the cow and the bison. So there's a field with there's a herd of bison and a herd of cow. And off in the distance, the storm's coming. And the cows go run for shelter. The bison run through the storm.
Yeah, they face it, don't they?
Yeah. You come to me as a cow, I'm going to turn you into a bison.
I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I haven't heard that one. I know the bison faces the storm.
Yeah.
But I hadn't heard that one about the cow. And I grew up on a bloody farm. But I like that.
Yeah. The question is, does Scotty serve it to his clients as well?
Grass-fed only, of course.
Grass-fed
bison. Yeah, of course.
And finished.
Yeah.
If you guys don't mind, I would like to jump a little bit ahead to talk about this new supplement company that you're involved with, your new brand, Unmatched.
Yeah, for sure. So, I've been involved in the supplement industry for a while, obviously with bodybuilding.com more than anything, working with a lot of companies, such as yourself, more so as the content player, but making sure that a lot of that content wasn't biased. But then working with the formulators at bodybuilding.com, and then kind of understanding behind the scenes of what goes into supplements and manufacturing and marketing and stuff like that. So it seemed like an easy transition when I decided to leave bodybuilding.com. The founder, Ryan DeLuca, had left. It wasn't really my sort of shtick then. And I started working with the ex-formulator and the COO of bodybuilding.com to create a supplement line, which eventually became Caged. But then after, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun ride. But, when you're there with two co-founders and you don't really see eye to eye on how you want that brand to go, the direction you want it to go, then it's like, okay, then it's time for me to say thank you very much. But I'm going to go and do this the way that I want to do it with people that kind of work out, and that's why I decided, I had a few options, and I decided because I knew Doug Miller, not only did I know him, but I'd put the word out with other people and asked about him, to see what is he really like. I know Julian Smith works with him with Arms Race and stuff like that. So I couldn't find anybody who said one bad word about Doug, not one. Family guy, got faith. He's very genuine, authentic, really looks after people, his staff, blah, blah, blah. So that's when I decided to visit their HQ. And I noticed like his HQ is big. I don't know if any of you have actually visited. It's a big place, but everybody is in the one room together, like on one big table. They're just like one happy family, and they're a young, dynamic, enthusiastic team that all work out. And I really, really like that. And after having a few conversations with Doug to see if it was even something that would rub his rhubarb, he's like, let's do this, man. Because I told him, I wanted something that was, fermented, naturally sweetened, grass fed. I didn't want caffeine in the products, and this is why, blah, blah, blah. Because in 2014, I really got into the biohacking side of things. I know that name is bastardized a little bit, but I'm
Yes,
going
it
to
is.
use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bloody terrible, isn't it? Everyone's a biohacker.
Right.
But I'm going to use that for simplicity. I got diagnosed with mold toxicity in 2014
Oh, wow.
because I'd lived in India for a few years. I haven't mentioned that yet, but I'd lived in India for a few years, and a place that I was staying at had mold, and I didn't know. And I had no idea what the hell was going wrong with me, and no doctor could diagnose me until I actually visited Dr. Spinalg in Oldsmar, Florida. And, that's when I really started looking into a lot of artificial crap. I started looking into mold toxins in coffee, in grains, and blah, 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 and really going down this rabbit hole. And that's when I realized, I really want to increase my health span. I really want to reverse my biological age. I want to perfect my blood markers. I want to optimize my brain in a way that I'm thinking. And, I was looking at statistics of, how cancer rates are going up, how testosterone is going down, just all these markers, how people were getting diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 40s, in the age, in their 40s, but only some years ago is people in their 60s, 70s, 80s and more. And it's just getting younger and younger. And we know that our DNA hasn't bloody changed. It's definitely the environment. So I just wanted to control the environment of the supplements that I'm putting in my body, because this isn't something that we're putting on. It's not bloody clothing, So I really, really wanted to take care in that. And when I explained all this to Doug, he was completely aligned with it. So that's when we decided to start Unmatched, and put it out there. I had relationships in the industry. Doug has good relationships in the industry. So I felt it was rude not to come out with something in which, we launched Unmatched 4 weeks ago and just launched in Vitamin Shop like 2 weeks ago because I'm on the Wellness Council with Vitamin Shop. So I've got a really good relationship there. And it's gone really well international as well. Like it's going really, really well in India. They're just repurchasing, the distributors over there just repurchasing, which I'm surprised about actually, because that's a price sensitive market and we're not cheap at all, but it's selling really, really well. So happy to see that selling really well in the UAE. We got a lot of demand in the UK. So yeah, it's all fun and games.
So I like, I love the philosophy, and that's makes you guys stand out from other companies, being that everything's natural, naturally sweetened. I do have a question for you, and I am going to try the products for myself, but in most of the naturally sweetened products I've tried do not taste as good as the artificially sweetened products. So how did you guys get around that? How did your products taste?
I could speak to it if you want, Kris.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go for it.
So Kris Gethin will get into the technical. I'll get into just the reality on the street. I bought Dissident, which is the non-stim pre-workout, great pump nootropic formula, in a strawberry colada flavor. Not something I would particularly pick. I'd usually go for maybe a lemon lime or a blueberry, but I saw that he had other matching flavors. So to this side of me, that's Dissident, a non-stim pre-workout, and to the other side of me, depending on how I lean here, um, this shoulder, is the Longevity EAA, and he also had a matching strawberry colada flavor. So I don't know if you could see it with the background that I have, um, but taste was probably the best I've ever had, knowing that something was flavored with stevia or monk fruit. I really couldn't be like, yeah, that's natural flavors. I don't really get that from your product now. Of course, I'm doing a scoop of Dissident and I'm doing a scoop of Longevity EA, so maybe I'm enhancing it a little bit more. I'm drinking it right now, actually, but really, really well done on the flavors. And I can compare it to some other brands that have done, hey, let's try the natural flavoring route, which I commend everybody to do. I'm definitely in favor of that, coloring wise, filler wise, taste wise. But I could tell you from the street, tasted really good. I don't think you'll have anybody that'll be disappointed. And that's coming from a person that typically wouldn't pick out strawberry as one of the flavors. So definitely a job well done. Not to mention the effects of it.
Yeah, so that's what took us by far the longest, and is continuing to take by
Yeah.
far the longest. It's not so much as formulations. We had an idea of what we wanted to go in the product, and of course, we had some issues actually with the strawberry colada BH2K initially, and that's why we only went with small batches to begin with. I wanted to go big batch, but Doug was like, no, 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 let's start with small batch. We've never formulated anything like this before, and luckily we did, because I think it was the PKTP that wasn't blending well with the other ingredients. So we had to pre-blend the PKTP to go before blending the rest of the ingredients, as weird as that sounds. So we had some of those issues. But the thing that took by far the longest was just the sweetening of the product. And on several occasions, Doug will admit this. He's like, bollocks, let's just put the bloody sucralose in it,
That's
or
the
maybe
easy
let's
route.
yeah, it's an easy route, of course. It's very easy and cheaper. But or maybe we just do a little bit of half sucralose and half, stevia. But we just kept at it, and I'm so glad that we did, because we eventually got it. We got a certain strain of stevia, and we got this it's a natural masker that we've come across that no one knows about, that masks the bitterness of the
Right.
stevia. And just to let you know, that's the strain is actually our lowest seller. That's the least favorite of the bunch of what people want, actually. It's like the pink lemonade and the orange people really, really like. But so far, we look at all the reviews. You can go into the website, you can go on Vitamin Shop. So far, the reviews of the actual flavor and the effects have been really, really good. And, of course, we wanted to really combine and bridge the health span sector with the performance sector. And we've really, really found that niche there. Like Scotty, you'll appreciate this. Like in our longevity EAAs that Kris was talking about,
Yeah.
we also have estrogen and glutathione. It's a cetria glutathione and youth spermidine in it as well. So we have these
Okay.
longevity enhancing autophagy antioxidant profiles within these fermented essential amino acids as well, to combine, the both of like the biohacking world with that. And of course, the whey has to be grass fed and finished. We actually get the whey from the UK, so that we from the grass fed and finished cows over there. So we've actually really gone out of our way. And we won't be coming out with any more proteins for a while, because protein prices are just, I think, up 70% since the beginning of the year. But when they come down, there are some products on the way there that we'll want. And with our hydration, we've got blood sugar stability ingredients in there. So we've really tried to take our time, but the sweetening took a shitload longer. And now, of course, we're trying to expand the flavors now, but it's just taking a long time, man.
Hey, Kris, real quick, but how do you get the delivery of the glutathione in a oral form?
Citria. So citria have a very bioavailable form that will pass a lot of the acidity in the gut to actually get into the bloodstream. So yeah, you can't just use any sort of glutathione. And it's the same with the spermidine. We actually went with the youth spermidine because of that bioavailability and protection of the gut barrier, of the acidity in the gut.
Yeah.
I got a question for you on the grass-fed way, and Scott, you can jump in on this too. So, from my understanding, is the benefits of grass-fed beef or let's say grass-fed cow is really comes in the fat, right? The fat content. Now, you're not getting that when you're getting the whey protein. So, what's the benefit of grass-fed whey protein powder?
Antibiotics. That's how I look at it more than anything. So the
100%.
majority. Yeah, the majority of the antibiotics that are consumed by people today, the majority is not through pharmaceuticals. It's not from us going to the pharmacy. It's from what we are ate. So whatever that cow ate, or whatever that chicken, or whatever that fish, that factory fish, it's pumped with antibiotics. So you think of fish. Have you ever been to a fish farm? They're compact, pardon the pun, but like sardines. Now they have a lot of tumors. They have, a lot of, problems basically being that compact. So they're fed a lot of antibiotics. So I understand you're going to get a lot more omega-6 as opposed to the omega-3 profile in the fish. But it's the same with cows. Like I grew up on a farm and they are just fed a lot of crap. Same with the chickens. The chickens are never outdoors. They're under stress. And you taste the toughness of that chicken. Like I'm sure you've had like a humane raised chicken egg, and you just go and get the normal one. It looks completely different color, different taste profile.
The taste profile is totally different. It's totally different.
Completely different. It's like, you have a normal tomato, can't really taste anything. Have the tomato that you grow outside here, absolutely bloody phenomenal, So that's why I look at it. I don't want the antibiotics in my system. I don't want the crap that's fed. So I eat grass fed, I eat humane raised, I eat organic, I eat wild caught. Why should my supplement be any different? Costs money, but I'm putting the investment in something that I'm going to get ROI on.
Great.
If I could just touch upon, I eat wild caught as well, but I don't eat that much, Kris. And if you think about it, what they're finding in a lot of these fish that even that are wild caught is the microplastics, which means that they're ingesting it and we are ingesting it,
Yeah, for sure. You have to be very careful on where you're getting that fish farmed or where it's caught from. Yeah, for sure. There's certain waters that are very, very polluted. It's the same with pretty much everything out there. You could even look at Shilajit and see where that is derived from and go, okay, then they've got same with salt. A lot of that salt is farmed over in Pakistan. There's a lot of contaminants that is in the air, that is in that salt. So it's pretty much everywhere. You got to do whatever you can to just do your homework and get it from the most natural, uncontaminated sources as possible.
Yeah, I use the phrase, we reduce our toxic load as much as possible,
Yeah, for sure. If I'm here in Idaho, if I can get fish from the Salmon River from a local co-op or local farmers market, that's where I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a world that we live in, isn't it? It's
funny,
weird.
Kris. You'll appreciate this. I'm a member of a food co-op, and I bought shares, and it's a PMA. It's a private, membership association, and all the grains are gotten from Turkey. And people ask, well, why Turkey? Turkey is one of the only countries that Monsanto has not stepped foot on. So you're assured no glyphosate at all.
Tell the truth, Scotty. You don't eat grains, Scotty. Tell the truth.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so like as we know, a lot of the mold is found in grains as well. Yes. So they have a less of a limit here in the US for a lot of the mold that's in the grain. Same with the coffees. You know, it has to be shade grown. It has to be dried immediately, single origin, of course, if possible, because the majority of the coffees that we consume out there have these mycotoxins, which are a neurotoxin, you know. So we look at things like Alzheimer's or dementia. I'm not pointing a finger at this. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician, but you have to think, you know, it's a contributing factor.
Yes. You know, I look at it, you know, you have to play offense and defense. So we're going to die of four main things, either a neurodegenerative disease, cardiovascular, cancer, or some sort of metabolic disorder, other than a car crash or airplane. So there you got to play defense. On the offensive side, you got to have a good diet, you got to train, and you got to sleep, and you got to keep stress down. So you got to play offense and defense. Agreed?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And the thing is, a lot of people don't put value into the shit that's free. You know, the sleep, that's free. You know, you don't have to always go to the gym. It's going to be beneficial, but it's bloody cheap. But you can still work out for free if need be, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, helps with our mitochondria, helps with the NAD production, you know? Everyone's going out and buying NAD supplements. Of course, yeah, maybe we need them, but how about starting to work out first? It's funny, when I go and talk at these biohacking events, everyone has value in their red light panels, the sauna, the supplements, blah, blah, blah. Yet they're libidoless, they don't look like they work out, they have very little energy because they only see value in things that they can purchase. They have usually a lot of disposable income. But then in the bodybuilding world, yeah, we're working out. But are we getting enough sleep? You know, are we really taking care of other things, you know, putting ourselves in that parasympathetic state as opposed to just being sympathetic dominant the whole time?
Yeah. Well, it's also passive because, oh, I can go stand on red light therapy, but you know, going to work out, that's going to give me a little discomfort, you know? I
Yeah,
got to sweat,
yeah, that's
you know?
true. Yeah, and people will have more value than you know, they think they're going to get more value being in front of that red light instead of just going outside and doing their cardio, you know, or just getting that exposure to what our ancestors did. Of course, today's technology is great. We can take advantage of it. There's a lot of quantification there, but sometimes people just become students of learning with very little ancestral application. And
Yeah.
that's where they should both marry themselves together. You know, learn from, you know, like a lot of these blue zones where they're moving constantly, you know, places like in is it Okinawa? Yeah, Okinawa. You know, a lot of these centenarians, they're sitting and standing from the floor, you know, so they've got
Yes.
great bone density. That's their resistance training. And then in Sardinia, I think it is, yeah, they don't have a word
Yes.
for retirement. They don't know what retirement is. They just keep moving. They have that purpose that tells the universe, keep me around. I need to be here. We're not going to get rid of you just yet.
And well, which kind of relates to what I speak to a lot of people about is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which can really affect your metabolic rate, you know, and movement. It helps digestion. I mean, it in so many ways, but people don't move. Kris, you know that they don't move.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Like we know autophagy, you know, that some people can signal through fasting, but it gets signaled through movement, through working out, from exercise as well. VO2 max is associated with longevity. Our grip strength, our squat strength is shown in studies to be associated with longevity. It's like, friggin' move, guys. Just move. It's that easy because
Yeah.
I guarantee that every single one of these people will eventually have regret, whether they're put in a home early, whether they have to go and visit the doctor early, maybe they're stuck in a hospital bed now. That's unfortunately, it's like the fat people who come to us and go, man, I saw a picture of myself, or my kid said, you're overweight. I got to do something about it. Well, use the preventative measures instead,
Yes.
because if you're waiting for that signal, it may be too bloody late for you.
You know, I posted something the other day, and Kris, you know, commented on it. It's like, you know, the regular healthcare is really now called managed care, where they're managing your chronic illness and your medications. You know, it's preventative care. And what we do right now, like right now at our age, is going to have an effect on our play span, or what you say, health span. mean, the average person lives to about 73 years old. Women 74, men 72. So it's 73. But what is their health span? It's probably, from 63 to 73, they're alive. What is their health span like? What is their activity like? Are they managing a chronic illness at that point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I wanna die old, feeling young.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You want to have that movement, that activity.
Burn out like a bright light instead of slowly dimming.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And a lot of it is going to come down to movement. Usually, a lot of people that don't have that activity, they don't have the bone density, they generally lose their balance because they don't have coordination. They break a hip, and 3 months later, they're dead. You hear about that all the time.
Yes. I
They
think the
don't have
rate,
these bone density
Yeah.
issues or frailty.
the statistics are crazy. I think over
Yeah, in
60 years
places
old,
like
if you break a hip over like 60 or 65 years old, you have like a 50% chance of like dying within a couple of years, which is wild.
Yeah.
A lot to do with the
yeah,
healthcare system.
it's absolutely insane. But people are becoming very, very frail. They don't have that balance, they don't have that coordination, they don't have the bone density, and they don't have the strength. And now we've got bloody these GLP-1 agonists like semaglutide out there. That's making it even worse now
Everyone's
because
using it.
my mother-in-law has been on it, I don't know, for maybe a year and a half. I have no connection of none whatsoever. There's no, okay, let's try to get to this in 3 months and then we reevaluate. No, they're just throwing out the prescription. So she'll be on that as long as she wants, but it has injury habits. You know what I mean? So there's no education that goes along with it to say, well, maybe you need to eat this amount of protein. Maybe you need to actually weight train while you're doing this. And maybe we're going to give you that sense of urgency by evaluating you after 8 weeks to see where you're at and see how this has worked well for you. If it's not working, then we.
Yeah.
And the other thing
But
is,
that's big pharma. That's another bloody
and then it's
conversation
also
again.
everybody gets the same dose. Do you titrate the dose? You know what I mean? Based on the individual. You know what I mean? And are they eating enough protein? And like you said, and are they training? I mean, it's just one variable, and it's a tool that can be used if used correctly, but it's not the end all be all.
Totally
Yeah,
agree.
exactly. Because we know they're losing muscle. We know that they're losing bone density. It'll take a very simple app for them to follow. Okay, I've got these exercises to do today, and this is what I've got to eat. Easy. I'll populate it so my doctor or physician can see that when I go and visit them.
Yeah.
But as we know, it's big pharma. It's all about the dollar bills. Yeah.
There's no,
I
like I
tell you,
said, there's no money. Doctors don't get bonus for having the healthiest patients.
Yeah, that was part of Scott's post, which I
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, let's make
100%.
that a PSA. And one other thing I can add to it too is I think there's a certain look that goes along with that medication as well. You can almost start picking out the people that are using it with a little bit of a drawn out face and almost like a withering away, especially if they're not doing any resistance exercise or eating right. They're just letting the pharmaceutical do the work for them, and that is a dangerous slope. There's people who run a dangerous slope, maybe doing the wrong or crazy amounts of gear. And on the same side is something like this, where they're just depending on pharma to do, just shedding the pounds and not realizing, hey, well, what are you shedding? And what does your body composition look like? What is going on inside your body? And, Dorian recently did a podcast where he was talking about certain drugs that one day or certain habits of people are going to become a pandemic, and I often say there's going to be a pandemic with this with these drugs and what all the long term effects are going to be.
Well, and it's already occurring with statin drugs, and this, and that's been around
Yeah.
for several decades. This hasn't been around long enough for that to happen yet, but it will.
Very good point.
Yeah. Well, my massage therapist, she told me, whether this is down to this or not, but she seems to think it was, that she was on semaglutide and she got a cancerous tumor in her pancreas because of it. So she had to obviously get off it immediately. Whether that's true, but that's what she told me. So I could only imagine, and this is just one-on-one interaction, that you're just going to get a lot more of this. And, right to your point, Kris, that, yeah, maybe they don't always have the drawn-in face because they haven't dieted down that much from what I've seen. But they just look like these obese people that have dropped a little bit of weight, not much weight, they just look so soft now because they've replaced some of that more fat. They just don't have as much mass. So it's like everything is off them in their own now. It's just sad to see. But they could learn a lot from bodybuilding, for instance. I'm not saying bodybuilding is always the healthiest sport, but the bodybuilders were the original biohackers. And, a lot of the time, the medical system, just like the bodybuilding system, a little bit later down the road. And there's a lot that can be learned from, like I participate, my pivotal foot will always be in bodybuilding because I know there's just so many health benefits associated to it. And when I talk about bodybuilding, I'm not talking about generally standing on stage, but it builds your energy, your confidence, your bone density, your muscle density. You're more metabolically active. Your blood sugar is more stable. There's just so many benefits, and it gets better blood flow to you, so you're more cognitively enhanced, clearer. There's just so much to it.
Yeah, agreed, 100%.
That's a PSA right there too.
The lifestyle, the bodybuilding lifestyle is the fountain of youth, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. You see, of course, we see, on Generation Iron, RIP, blah, blah, blah. But, you see it everywhere. It's just because we're in the bodybuilding industry, we see it more because that's what we're exposed to.
Yes.
But you'll see it in soccer. If you're really exposed to soccer, you'll see it there. You'll even see it in equestrian. It's just everywhere, of course, but we're seeing mostly that coming from the extreme side of the sport. And you're going to see it in the extreme side of anything.
Agreed.
Yeah. But yeah, it is what it is. It's a funny world though, isn't it? When, we talk about what's socially acceptable and, bodybuilding is very kind of frowned upon, or you could be someone that goes into a room with your Tupperware container and everyone looks at you like you're weird. However, you're the one that's really trying to increase your health span. You're trying to better yourself. You're trying to improve yourself. You want to be healthy because that decision that you make with that meal in front of you, is it going to heal me or is it going to harm me? It's going to be one or the other. But if you're in a room with people eating stuff that's going to harm them, you're the outlier. Isn't that a weird world that we live in? It's that if people are abusing themselves and shortening their lifespan, that's acceptable. It's like, this is so weird, man. It's so topsy-turvy.
It's ass backwards. It's ass backwards for sure.
Yeah, ass backwards. We'll go with that one. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird, but that's the environment that we're fighting against, and we're fighting against the fast food chains and overconsumption of Netflix. Don't get me wrong, I like Netflix, but you have to, it's like my social platforms or the phone, the business is on there. You have to use it and not let it use you. And people are falling into this abusive nature where they're getting bloody abused by these things. And it's just like with anything else, you have to use it and not completely allow yourself to submit and get abused.
Yeah, that's a tough fine line, man.
Yeah,
especially when you have to use it for your living, because dopamine, it's you get that dopamine release from Instagram knows, they know,
Yes.
For sure. And that dopamine, over release of that dopamine makes you stupid. It just makes you stupid. But it's so addictive. And now if you're over releasing your dopamine, you can't release your serotonin, you can't release melatonin or oxytocin. to just be, to relax. And that's why if someone is at the restaurant and their partner goes to the toilet, they have to pick this up.
Yeah.
They have to engage themselves with
I
something.
catch myself doing that, and I try to stop myself, but I catch myself.
And when you talk about serotonin, and then you talk about sleep, then you can really roll into the whole blood sugar issue as well, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Now they become insulin resistant as
Yeah.
well, you know.
From Instagram, indirectly from Instagram.
Of course, of course. And they're seeing it with kids as well because they're getting a double whammy. Like I'm wearing these blue light blockers now. I don't need them in this room. I did in the other. Because they're getting a double whammy where they're getting that flicker. So they're getting that dopamine fix into their retina and the dopamine fix from being on the social platform. So they're getting that double whammy of addiction. And I'll do digital detoxes like on weekends every now and again. I'll just give my devices to the missus because I can't trust myself. Okay, hold on to that shit. Or like, you know, like I said, I'll go on these like 10-day Vipassanas every now and again and just switch off 10 days. And that's like the hardest thing. Most people leave after like 5 days, or actually it's on the third or fourth day they leave, because basically you're looking at your life in complete equanimity. Like, you know, you have to go through all the shit to do so. So you are judging everything and your past and what's going on in your life, and you become very emotional. But then once it all surfaces and you're able to look at everything in perfect equanimity, it all kind of floats away. But just like, you know, what you mentioned before, Scotty, you have to just go through this pure sacrifice first in order to live that success of relief and equanimity and gratitude and being present.
And this is a jump off point with blue light, blockers. I am actually getting once for the day and the night for both me and my wife. I was talking to a girl who worked for an ophthalmologist, and his goal was to try to put something on every single television screen that you work on and phone, and it got poo-pooed. And he said to her, quote, "You're going to see macular degeneration explode, number one, and in ages that we never thought."
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because of blue light. So and plus then you control the circadian rhythm that blue light causes, which then affects people's sleep, which affects the release of serotonin. It's just a cascade of effects.
They do have I wear contacts now, and they have blue light blockers on some of the contacts.
I have it.
Yeah, so, it's crazy because like you have this constant flickers. Like if you record a TV screen, or if you record like a bulb or whatever, or the computer screen, you'll see that flicker that just raises your cortisol constantly, and it can't be good for the retina.
No.
So it doesn't surprise me. Like my entire family, I think, wears glasses. Yeah, even my little 10-year-old niece, God bless her, wearing glasses. And luckily, I've got, touch wood, I've got 20/20 vision. But I do whatever I can, get off the computer every now and again and just look into the distance, so you're utilizing, both your near sights and your short sights. And if I train in a gym that has low ceilings and harsh lighting, I put these bad boys on, because I know, like I'm on a bench and I'm staring up at the bloody lights. My cortisol's high enough as it is in the gym, I don't need to raise it anymore.
Oh, the lighting in some gyms is just, especially big box, it's the worst. It's the worst for you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you look the best in the mirror, but you just feel like you get a bit of a bloody headache after. You're like, God, is it the pre-workout that I took? What is it? Is it the kratom?
And the same thing, not that I don't go to doctor's offices, but I've gone with people, and that clinical, that white, bright light, it's not healthy,
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I'm going to digress a little bit here. So my father, earlier in the year, he got sepsis. He went into septic shock, and he got put into ICU. He's in ICU for 4 weeks. On 2 occasions, we thought we'd lost him. He battled his way through, the tough bugger. He's fine now. He's back in the gym. He's working out and whatnot. But on a few, I was there by his bedside every single day for bloody 5 weeks. And we thought we'd lost him. And, when he came out, he'd had a couple of surgeries on his liver, on his kidneys, on breathing machines, all this sort of shit, And he was dealing, because he'd been on so much morphine and stuff, he was dealing with delirium. Now, I don't know if you've ever been with anyone who's suffering from delirium. It's the weirdest shit I've ever seen, ever experienced. He didn't know what day it was, who he was. He thought they were holding him there against his will. You know, he thought he was seeing bloody bats and whatnot. Out of it, completely out of it. And, you know, I went in there one day is like it, the following day is like that. And I remember this actually broke my heart. I got a newspaper for him and he's just staring at the newspaper, but he's facing in. There's a beautiful view. This is at a place called Aberystwyth Hospital. It's right on the coast. Beautiful view on the ocean. And he's facing inwards. They put him in a chair now. And they was putting him in a chair for a few hours out of the bed, which was good. And he asked if he could have, oh God, what was this? Like coconut water it was. So I said, okay, I'll go down to the shop and I'll get this coconut water. So the newspaper's there on the cover and he's just staring at it. I come back about 40 minutes later, he's still there, just staring at the cover, you know, just out of it. Didn't know what was going on. And I just broke my heart. And I said to the nurse, I said, is there any reason why you can't just face him outside so you can see that view, you know? And they said, yeah, we'll try to do that, you know, if we can, we'll do that. Anyway, it was after that, that's when he started shouting at the nurses the following day, saying, you're keeping me here against my will, call my son, he needs to get me out of here, blah, blah, blah. So they tried calling me. They didn't get through to me. I didn't answer. I think I had the phone on silent or something like that, or I was on a call. Anyway, so they said, look, we're trying to get hold of him. Let's just put you in front of the window here, shall we? So keep him occupied. Put him in front of the window. Now he's facing the view. They got through to me. Or I called back and said, yeah, what's up? He's been a little bit angry and aggressive, blah, blah, blah. Can you come in? So I got there and my mum was coming with me this time. And I pre-warned her. I said, look, he's out of it. He doesn't know what's going on. He's dealing with what's called delirium, blah, blah, blah. We went in there. He starts talking to mum. And I'm thinking, oh, that's weird. He seems normal. Let me give it a couple more minutes because he'll start saying weird shit now in a second. It's going to come. It didn't come. Completely normal. And it's so crazy to think that you have something like that where you're looking into the distance and it can be healing, that nature can be nurturing.
Yeah.
But then you've got, like you said, the hospital system, you've got the harsh lighting, you're staring at only the issues and the problems that you have.
And forget about what they feed everybody. Forget about what they feed them in there as well. I mean, it's a whole nother topic, you know?
Oh man, I was taking food in there. I was taking protein shakes in there, and I was taking food in there. Packets of chicken with the dates on, packets of like Greek yogurt in there, coconut water, all that sort of stuff, because the stuff that they had on the menu, you know, I thought it only happened in this country, but it happens everywhere. It's shit, absolute shit. But fair dues, the nurses are really good. They're only doing what they were taught to do, and they're not taught to think outside of the box, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, we have to be dependent on ourselves. You know, if you look at the way of the land, you know, what we've got with politics and who's leading our charges, it's like, okay, we're going to have to look after ourselves because no one else is.
Yeah, that's for sure. Agreed.
Yeah.
Guys,
Fascinating.
we're just about at an hour, just to let everybody know.
That's the Eric warning.
Yeah.
Kris, you mentioned you're going to the Olympia. I want to make sure I mention it right with Unmatched booth 523, I think, or 532. Excuse me, I'm dyslexic. What are you thinking of the Olympia? I mean, obviously you're going to be working it, but you know, predictions wise, I mean, this is probably one of the more. I think we could all agree it's probably one of the more, if not most competitive Olympias in a long time. Whether you're looking at first to fourth or first to third, and certainly sixth to 10th. What's your thoughts on you know the expo in itself, and then as far as competitors in open or classic, obviously Seabum, Dino, Vissers, everyone there. I mean, it's quite the show.
Yeah. Well, number one, I'll start with the expo. we're going to be, I got Unmatched tattooed on the back of my neck, and I got this
I
U.
wasn't sure if that was fake or not. So
Didn't come free with cereals or anything. And I got this U, which is our logo as well, on my elbow here.
very cool.
So I've got that very same tattooist from Vegas that's going to be there tattooing at the expo over the weekend. We had to jump through a lot of bloody hoops for this. So I'm going to pay for anybody's tattoo. Anyone who comes by and has an Unmatched tattoo, I'm going to pay for it and give them a shitload of supplements as well. So we'll start with that.
I love it. Animal actually did it many, many, many years ago, and they got shut down. Like the health department came in and put an end to that.
Oh shit!
I
You
don't know
didn't
if
get it cleared first?
no, this was a long time ago, man, and I don't think it was Vegas. I don't remember where it was. This is way before I had the Olympia in Vegas.
Okay, yeah, we had to jump through a lot of bloody hoops with the health department and with Karen at the Olympia. She's been great. She's been great.
Good,
But we've got that done.
I love it.
But
That's
as far,
awesome.
but as far as the Olympia, so it all comes down to who's in shape. That's all it is, basically. Because like we could look at Samson of what he looked like over the weekend. It's like shit, huge. But I don't think he's where he needs to be, even just 2 weeks out. I think he needs to be tighter because he's going up against people like Hadi, who will be feathered and striated
Yes.
and ripped to the bone. Is his back shot going to be as strong? No, but that's only one shot. That's only, two comparisons, basically. It doesn't really show as much on the lat spread, but definitely in that rear double bicep. But that's just like 2 shots. And Hadi is just going to be shredded, full, big, separated, diced. So I don't know if Samson's going to take it. If he does something miraculous over the next 2 weeks, man, it's Samson's show. He's just so big. He's got great symmetry, best balance, good, separation. Separation, but just not as much striation. He's a dark guy, very dark guy. But then you've got Hardy, shredded, whatnot. But then you've got the in between with Derek. His legs aren't like, it's crazy when you see him training. Like I've trained with Derek, I've spent time with Derek. When you see him in person, his legs, for instance, look massive. But somehow when he diets down, he seems to lose a little bit of that fullness in his legs. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's too much time on the Stairmaster or whatever. But his legs need to be big because then he'll never be as separated as someone like Hadi, So he's got the perfect balance, but he looks like he's put on a lot of size, especially in the upper body. That width is unbelievable. Unbelievable with that tiny waist. So it's going to be very, very competitive, but it's topsy-turvy. I wouldn't want to put out a prediction because you can't even predict anybody the day before. It all comes down to that last fine tuning. Because when I was working with Flex, I spent a lot of time backstage shooting people. I was the first guy that used to shoot on stage as well. I know Kevin did it once, Kevin Horton once, but I was always shooting on the stage. So I could always see these guys, and just seeing the change just from like prejudging to finals would be unbelievable. So who knows what we're going to see in a couple of weeks, but it'll be very, very competitive. And then I think it'll be Bumstead's show. It'll be a lot to take out the champion. Like he'll have to be really, really off for them to give it to anybody else. And, this could be Bumstead's last show. And you think what he actually brings to the Olympia, he brings a lot of people. A lot of people that aren't even into bodybuilding know who Chris Bumstead is. So I can't imagine them giving it to anyone else. And then we got the 212s. I love Sean. Like he's my boy. I really, really like him.
Good friends with him.
Yeah, great guy. I've trained with him. Just one of the nicest people in the world. And that guy is like a killer. He is a giant killer, and he's so full. Those muscle bellies are unbelievably full.
Yes, yeah.
But Keon, he looks like he's in great shape, man, and that's what's held him back in the past up until last year. Like he is striated, his quads are looking good. He's looking.
I saw his quads. I saw his quads. They look amazing.
Unbelievable. So I think based on just shape and his condition, even if he comes in flat, I think he's going to be very, very hard to beat. He's just got more flow and, he's more marketable, I guess, than a freaky Sean.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be certainly from the post. Looks like Keon's making some significant improvements.
Yeah.
Versus
His head's
last
on
year.
straight. His head is on straight. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it, right?
Yeah, the body just follows, man. That's all it does.
And what do you think about the female?
Yeah, I don't know. I really, really don't know because based on, God, what's her name that just beat the Miss Olympian?
Sarah?
Yeah,
Oh
no,
no, you're talking about Wings of Strength? Yeah, that's who beat
short, she's very short, dark hair.
yeah, she beat Andrea. Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell's her name? Like, God, we communicate with each other on Instagram. I should bloody know. But anyway, it all comes down to conditioning there. Like, she has conditioning. But I think Andrea would have got shocked by that being beaten by her.
Oh,
And I
she's
think,
coming. Yeah, she's
yeah,
coming.
and
She's coming.
I think she's just going to bring her absolute best. And if
I
she's in
agree.
condition, she's got the size, she's got the fullness, she's got the shape to just keep that title. So
Yeah,
I can't see her being beaten, to be honest with you.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it'll be a fun event. Be a fun event. So I'll watch the prejudging. I won't bother with the finals. Finals get a little bit boring for me, And I like to be watch the prejudging to predict myself based
Yeah.
on what I see. That's the exciting part for me.
Sure. Yeah, it's gonna be a heck of a show.
Where do you guys put Nick Walker? He always has so much hype.
He's
Where do you have him?
He's the X factor, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, he's also been persona non grata, for a month or two now. We haven't seen anything. When
Yeah,
you usually see everything.
yeah. We know he's going to be in shape. There's no doubt about that. But will his shape be enough to get, let's say, in the top 4?
He
Yeah,
can come as high as 3.
Yeah, I think he could shake up things or fall out. He could go either way.
He's today's Branch Warren. That's who he kind of equates to. And Branch
But he
took
doesn't
as
have
high as second.
Yeah, he doesn't have those branch legs though,
Yeah.
and I can't see those legs getting any bigger. Unfortunately, his upper body is so big, it makes his legs look small, and they're not small, but that's the unfortunate thing. It's not like from the side, they're huge, he's got hamstring hang, he's got the quads, but from the front, they look a little narrow.
And he's also got a longer torso than he does legs. You ever notice that?
Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, it stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he looks a little bit more like an Art Atwood than he does a Branch Warren,
That's a good one.
Name from the past.
Yeah,
Art
another
Atwood.
freak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Kris, at the Olympia Expo, are you going to be at the booth the whole time? Are there certain times that people want to come meet you?
Do you know, it's funny because my the guy in charge of our creative today, what hours can I say that you're on the booth? I'm like, I don't know. I'll be there from opening. I'll be there at the end. But I've got meetings during the day. We've got international partners from the UK and the UAE. I'm going to have to break off and meet with them. As you mentioned earlier, I'm with Gasp and Better Bodies. I'm going to have to jump on their booth a little bit. I have to shit and eat at some point, But the rest of the time, I'll be on the booth. And hopefully people will be getting tattooed. Otherwise, I'm going to have to get some more done. But I'll be there. I'll be there both days. We're going to have to work out exceptionally early in the morning because I think they let the VIPs in at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm useless to anyone in the evening. So it'll be long days, but worth it. And then leave on the Sunday. A couple of my best friends from Australia always come over. So it's always a good time. And then I'm only back here in Boise for one day before I have to fly to Dubai to speak at a biohacking event there and then host a retreat about 2 hours outside of Dubai somewhere.
Oh, wow.
So it'll be flat out.
Summit, right? World Biohack Summit, October 18th.
World, you got it, buddy. You got it.
Kris does his homework.
Yeah.
I want to go to it.
So if
me too now after this.
I'm terrible with numbers. I suffer from something called dyscalculus. People have it, dyslexia. Dyscalculus is with numbers. So if I'm screwed, I'll give you a call, Eric, and say, where am I supposed to be this weekend, man?
Event planner. That's great.
Yeah.
I was just looking at your website. Really nicely done.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, the guy, Caleb, he actually works with us at Caged, and he came over to Unmatched, and he's done a phenomenal job with the branding. Really,
Yeah,
really
it
good.
looks really good. Looks really good.
Like so good. Have you ever heard of those Apocalypse 6x6 Jeep? You ever seen those things? Man, look them up after this call. I went
Very
and visited him in Miami. They're nasty. Anyway, he's so good. I want him to actually do the paintwork, design the paintwork to go on this Jeep. That's what I want. Have that black, mostly black with the background, which is basically my tattoos
Right.
with red accents. I think it'll look great. But he's done a really, really good with the branding. It sticks out.
Yeah, it looks great. I agree. Cool. All right. We should start to wrap.
Yeah.
Kris, where can people find you if they want to follow you, interact with you?
Well, I'm not going to give you my address, but they can come and find me on Instagram. Just Kris Gethin, Gethin, Kris Gethin. And if anybody got any questions or send me a direct message, I'm pretty good at responding on there.
Very cool. And Unmatched, give a plug for the Instagram for Unmatched.
Yeah, so that's Unmatched Supps.
Yes.
Unmatched Supps. And yeah, we're always putting up content there. We'll be putting up, we put some training content up there, some blogs. Doug writes a few pieces because everybody wants his arm workouts. So he's put that up there and whatnot. So yeah, and we'll be expanding the line. We'll be doing like a multi-pack, a collagen creamer. Like I don't drink milk, but I love collagen, and I usually use a vanilla collagen in my coffee. So we're coming out with that, a testosterone product as well. Yeah, we got a few products that we've worked on, probably about 7 new products that would be coming out over the next year.
Awesome.
I'm gonna actually.
Yeah.
I'm looking at. I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna buy myself a couple products. Yeah, based on our conversation and how you formulated them and with the delivery system. Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Are you guys going to be at the Olympia as well?
Fortunately,
No.
No? Okay. I was going to say, come by the booth. I'll get you a tattoo.
no. I'll be coming to the Arnold, though. I'm definitely coming to the Arnold. But,
Oh, we're already booked for the Arnold. We're already booked. We'll see you there then.
very cool.
Definitely be at the Arnold for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for having me on,
Hey.
guys. I really, really appreciate it. It's an honor to be on here.
I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed speaking with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, man. Likewise. Likewise.
This is awesome, eye-opening. I learned a lot, and very, very cool.
Everyone
Cool,
again,
man. Yeah.
joining Gym Guys podcast episode 29 with Kris Gethin. Check out krisgethin.com. Check him out on Instagram. Check out his brand Unmatched. He's the co-founder, and he's got a mission and a purpose with making his supplements different than many, many other brands. I could certainly speak to it. The rest of our hosts are going to speak to it as well when they get the product, and I think he'd be really, really pleased with what he brings to the table that's different in the supplement industry. So thanks again, and looking forward to seeing you all in the next Gym Guys episode. Thank you again, Kris Gethin. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you. And once you put this online, please let me know so I can share it.
Love it. Love
Have
it.
a good night, everyone.
You too.
Thank you. Peace.